Hello, you're watching Shalom World News. I'm Donna Villa coming to you from Chicago, USA. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Pope Francis said that the church is suffering due to allegations of sexual abuse. He further stated that it should show zero tolerance towards sexual abuse by its members. In an interview with CNN Portugal on Monday, September 5th, the pontiff stressed the church's commitment to zero tolerance when it comes to priests who abuse others. Abuse by churchmen and churchwomen, abuse of authority, abuse of power, and sexual abuse is a monstrosity, he said, adding that a priest cannot continue to be a priest if he is an abuser. Meanwhile, when asked about the upcoming World Youth Day 2023, set to take place in the Portuguese capital of Lisbon, the pontiff confirmed his attendance. In a lighter vein, he said either Francis or John the 24th is going. He was hinting at the possibility of his successor who might follow in the footsteps of Pope St. John the 23rd. As Americans commemorated Labor Day yesterday, September 5th, Archbishop Paul Coakley of Oklahoma City has sought the passage of Pregnant Workers Fairness Act. In his message for Labor Day, the prelate said there is no federal law at present to provide short-term reasonable amenities to pregnant women in the workplace. He said that pregnant women should not be forced to risk their health or that of their child just because they require a short-term, reasonable pregnancy-related accommodation. Archbishop Coakley said that the request for amenities include a bottle of water, a stool for jobs requiring long hours of standing, and lighter duty for jobs involving strenuous activity. The prelate bemoaned how women working in low-wage, physically demanding circumstances are denied such amenities. They run the risk of being fired or being forced to take leave without pay. Citizens of the South American nation of Chile vehemently opposed the newly proposed constitution on Sunday in a plebiscite. 62% of citizens opposed it, while 38% said yes to the new constitution. 2 years ago, the draft received 80% of votes in its favor. The document was rejected in all Chilean provinces, including the one in Santiago, which is acclaimed to be the most progressive. Citizens rejected the Constitution for its radical changes. The rejected Constitution, backed by leftist President Gabriel Boric, wants to make Chile a plurinational country and expand abortion. It also seeks to reserve 50% of positions in official institutions for women. President Boric said the government would work to create another constitution. In Somalia, Islamist militants murdered 19 civilians and destroyed trucks carrying food supplies. The attack took place in Hirshabelle, in the central part of the country on Saturday, September 3rd. Reports say that Al-Shabab fighters linked to Al-Qaeda carried out the attack. The trucks were taking food from Beledweyne city at Mahas town. News agency AFP quoted a local chief as saying that the death toll could be more as bodies are still being recovered. A local news agency reported that the militants torched the trucks and killed most people on board. On the other hand, Al-Shabab justified the attack by saying they were targeting fighters from a local sub-clan that helped government forces. Al-Shabab militants have been waging an insurgency against the government to establish their own regime, which is based on stricter version of Islamic law. At least a dozen people were killed in a bomb blast near the Russian embassy in the Afghan capital Kabul on Monday, September 5th. At around 11 a.m. local time, a suicide bomber detonated a bomb near the embassy. 2 members of the diplomatic corps were killed in the explosion. This has been confirmed by the Russian Foreign Ministry. Al Jazeera quoted a local journalist as saying that the death toll could rise. At the time of the blast, there were many people at the embassy applying for a Russian visa. The ruling Taliban has said that they identified the attacker and killed him before he reached his target. Although no one has claimed responsibility for the blast, the finger of suspicion points at the local arm of the Islamic State. Russia is one of the few nations to maintain an embassy in Kabul after the Taliban took over the nation. English Cardinal Vincent Nichols has urged new British Prime Minister Liz Truss to immediately address the rising cost of living, which has spiraled into a crisis. The Conservative Party chose Liz Truss on Monday to become the Tory leader and new Prime Minister by replacing Boris Johnson. Cardinal Nichols of Westminster congratulated Liz on Twitter and promised his prayerful support. The president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of England and Wales also released a statement calling on the new prime minister to act quickly to deal with the cost of living crisis. He said Britain should focus on helping the elderly and the families who struggle to pay their bills. Former Foreign Secretary Truss trounced fellow contender and ex-finance minister Rishi Sunak in the prime ministerial race. She assumed office after meeting Queen Elizabeth at Balmoral in Scotland on Tuesday, August 30th. On Monday, September 5th, Canadian police found one of the suspects in a mass stabbing spree dead while his brother was still on the run. 31-year-old Damien and Miles Sanderson, who is 1 year younger, are suspected of murdering 10 people and wounding 18 in a stabbing rampage in Saskatchewan on Sunday, September 4th. Police are still trying to determine the motive for the attacks, which occurred in a place where members of the indigenous communities reside. Some of the victims appeared to have been targeted, while others were apparently random. In April 2020, a gunman killed at least 16 people in Nova Scotia during a 12-hour rampage. Compared with neighboring USA, mass killings are rare in Canada. The Missionaries of Charity congregation celebrated the 25th anniversary of the death of their founder, Mother Teresa, yesterday, September 5th. At the headquarters of the congregation in the Indian city of Calcutta, Archbishop Thomas de Sousa of Calcutta celebrated Holy Mass. In his homily, he quoted the words of Mother Teresa, which described her spirituality. He said, quote, "The fruit of silence is faith. The fruit of faith is love. The fruit of love is service. And the fruit of service is peace," end quote. Superior General Sister Mary Joseph said the nuns are searching for the poorest of the poor on the streets wherever they are, who are alone and abandoned. The poor are always in our midst, and we need to love and serve them, she said, adding that political situations have never affected the work of the Missionaries of Charity. Separately, Pope Francis said on Twitter that everyone should imitate the smile of Mother Teresa and give it to those who suffer. In Pakistan, a Christian human rights outfit has been accused of indulging in anti-state activities. These are reports that the Center of Social Justice, headed by Catholic activist Peter Jacob, is facing a probe ordered by the Interior Ministry for alleged dissemination of propaganda against Pakistan in the UN. Rights groups, civil society members, and NGOs have defended the organization. The organization came under the radar after it published an annual report titled Human Rights Observer in February, with details on the level of human rights in the Muslim-majority country. The authorities were disturbed when the report was sent to the UN Human Rights Council, as it contained details of the abuse of blasphemy laws, forced conversions, and the plight of minorities. Irfan Mufti, a Muslim leader, said that the report is based on duly documented facts. With the aim of improving ties between Ethiopia and neighboring Egypt, a delegation from the Ethiopian Orthodox Church paid a visit to the Patriarch of the Coptic Orthodox Church in the Egyptian capital, Cairo. The high-level ecclesiastical visit is part of the ongoing political negotiations regarding the controversial Renaissance Dam constructed across the Nile in Ethiopia. The Ethiopian delegation was led by Abuna Yusuf, the Metropolitan Archbishop of Bel, with members comprised of superiors of monasteries, deacons, and nuns. During the meeting with Patriarch Tawadros, the Ethiopian prelate invited the Coptic Church to head to Ethiopia. Patriarch Tawadros recalled the historical, cultural, and spiritual ties between Egypt and Ethiopia. He added that such connections are represented by the common dependence of both nations on the waters of the Nile. Both Egypt and Sudan have expressed concern over the dam, saying that it would decrease the share of water for both countries. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us tomorrow. In the meantime, you can visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.